Ditko, Peter Zasko or something. Anyway, he's a very famous Vetco, very famous guy. He testified before Congress today. I saw his opening statement and read this article, and it's very much like what he said before. He already submitted this all in writing when he went to Whistleblower. One thing I was surprised that I heard on the Pivot podcast is he got a $7 million severance pay when they fired him, and then he signed a non-disparagement agreement, and then he blew the whistle anyway. And they said, he checked with his lawyer, and his lawyer said you can still be a whistleblower even despite the non-disparagement agreement. And they said, in fact, in Silicon Valley, by their standards, 7 million is a very low parachute. 40 and 50 million are more common. That's why I thought, that's a lot, but that's because, I'm not up on the current standards of Silicon Valley. So anyway, but the point is, it seemed very much like the same thing. And of course, this stuff, the reason why Congress cared about this is he had a lot of dynamite stuff about foreign agents working at Twitter and going through their data. And that's, of course, what gets Congress real excited. And so anyway, I didn't see anything too dramatically different from what he said the first time or what he said now. He said that Twitter's standards are 10 years out of date. Their engineers have access to everybody's account. Nobody knows where all the data is stored, so they can't really control it. And, that they're just kind of sloppy. And also, the main thing, of course, also important to legislators, is that they are completely failing to live up to the agreement with the Federal Trade Commission that was a settlement in 2010 or 2012, when they got busted before. They totally promised to improve their security, and they totally didn't do it. And he talked about how personal people in security would talk to him there and say, I made this statement to the government, but it's a lie. It's not going to hold up. We're pretending we fixed things we haven't fixed, and we're lying about it, and you should know it's all going to come crashing down. And so anyway, it is all crashing down. So we'll see what comes of it. Now, some people say it seemed like he had a personal bone to pick. I don't know. He claims he doesn't. But, this is the thing about, I know security professionals, they always seem like that. They get very, very mad about how insecure you are. And then they say, I told them and they ignored me. I told them and they lied to me. And then they are really angry. And there is some personal stuff in it. I've been that guy. I understand it more on a smaller scale. I've been that guy. Anyway, so that went before Congress, and that was pretty exciting. The Congress people really wanted to see big tech Twitter burn down. Well, I'm sure the Republicans do, right? The Republicans hate Twitter because they banned Trump. And the Republicans believe that by doing that, they probably cost them the election, and they might very well be right. So they, of course, hate big tech. And they say, in their opinion, Facebook and Twitter and YouTube all screwed them by banning Alex Jones and banning Trump and banning these figures that were on their side.
Was he banned prior to the election, or was it after the election?
Oh, Trump was before the election, and I'm sure I think Alex Jones was even before that. So a lot of the right-wing figures got banned for vaccine misinformation and endangering people's lives with swatting and stuff. I think they banned Alex Jones over him saying that one of the shootings was a lie and causing the parents to get harassed and stuff. But so that they had their reasons to do it, but the effect was the current Republican agenda was impeded by that, and I'm sure they feel like that made them lose the election. So this is very interesting, though. A bunch of people that have worked with Mudge in the past have all been contacted and offered large amounts of money to give dirt on him, like dozens of them. And it's more than one company. It's like 6 major companies doing this. People get contacted saying, paid interview request. They'll pay you thousands of dollars for a 1-hour interview to tell them what happened when you worked for Mudge at some previous company and get dirt on it. And I wondered who was doing this. I wondered if Twitter was doing this. But it's not Twitter. Twitter denies it, and it isn't Twitter. What it is, it's not Twitter, and it's not Elon Musk. It is investment companies. Because the stock price of Twitter depends on whether Elon Musk is forced to buy it. And that depends to some extent on what happens with Mudge's testimony. So if you can find out if there's dirt on Mudge, you can predict which way it's going to go. So anyway, they name the companies. These are Lehman Group, Mosaic Research, Ridgetop Research, and these others. These have all approached many former colleagues. This is what you call opposition research or a political candidate, but it's financially motivated because of the stock price. Because Elon Musk started all this a few months ago when he said he was going to buy Twitter, and he offered a ridiculously high price as a weed joke, $44.20 per stock or something, and that $54.20, when the actual price of Twitter at that time was about 30, and the justified price by earnings was more like 10 or 20. And so everybody's expecting a $30 billion payout when Musk actually pays all that money. And he is in court trying to say he won't have to pay it. And I listened to the Pivot Podcast and Scott Galloway and stuff, and he says he hasn't got a leg to stand on because he signed an on-cloud agreement promising to do it and saying he didn't need to do any due diligence. Now he claims, oh, there's too many bots, and they say, well, you already waived your chance to complain about things. So anyway, we're going to see. He's probably going to have to pay at least several billion, if not buy the whole company. And of course, the other thing that came out, I think, in the whistleblower statement, which I think was pretty much an open secret at the time, is ever since Mudge did that, the government of Twitter was thrown into total chaos. Nobody even knew who was in charge because it was Jack, and Jack left and put the other guy in charge, Padarang or something, but he wasn't in agreement with Jack, and Jack seems to have brought in Musk. And then Jack withdrew and and so nobody knew who the boss was anyway, and they ended a bunch of their attempts to clean up misinformation because they thought that would offend Musk, who said he wanted to move it back to the right and let Trump back on, and they didn't know if that was the right move or not. So for the last several months, I think Twitter has just been coasting with nobody even knowing which direction they're going or who the boss is. It all depends on the outcome of this lawsuit. Yeah.
So if Elon Musk, from my understanding, what you just said,
Yeah.
if Elon Musk gets away not purchasing it, I'm assuming it drops the stock price of Twitter?
The first thing is he will have to pay every stock price $54.20 per share. That's why people buy it, hoping that he will do that. It rose to 30, then it rose to 40. The price depends on how likely you think it is that Trump is really going to do that. That's all that matters. The actual earnings mean nothing. It doesn't earn anything anyway. It's just the stock price depends entirely on whether you think Elon Musk is actually going to be forced to pay that. And every little move makes that more or less likely, and everybody moves their money in and out.
Because the thing is, based on the Dogecoin issue, like
Yeah.
earlier this year,
Yeah.
back in January, it could go either way. But I don't think it's going to happen, but I could be wrong.
Well, Musk no longer wants to do it, but he signed a contract obligating him to do it, so he's going to have to try to break that in court. And he's already got the whistleblower to join him in some part of that lawsuit, so it's a big deal. Did you cover the Patreon? No, that's the next thing I want to mention. The other thing, a little bit later than usual, but I mentioned this because I think this is incredible. This guy explains the Patreon problem. See, about a week ago, Patreon fired their whole security staff all at once. And it was very strange, and this guy has finally revealed the truth, and he's got links to articles. It's not just this one guy saying it. What's been going on is people put underage porn on Patreon. Their parents of children put underage porn of their children on Patreon and say, this is authorized by their parents, so it's okay, and they get money to view the underage porn. And the security staff told Patreon about this, and Patreon said, we don't care because the parent is the owner of the account and they're over 18. And they said, I don't think that's going to fly, which it is not. And they said, just shut up, don't complain about it, don't do anything about it. We have a lot of that, we know it, we like getting the money, and don't rock the boat. And that's why they all quit, because they don't want to have their fingerprints on this. And now it's coming out. So remember, this is why Twitter did not go into porn. Twitter was going to go into porn about a month ago. And they decided it's too dangerous for this reason, because you really don't know if all those people are of age. And if you have any significant amount of porn on your platform, some of them are underage, and then it's the end of the world. And they didn't want to get into that dangerous business.
I think that the safe harbor provisions under federal law it insulates against tort liability. It's not common carriage.
Yeah, but this is not a tort.
This is not a tort.
I know, this is nuclear stuff. So anyway, that's going to be quite a disaster, I think. And we'll see what happens. Might be a big deal, big trouble for Patreon. Anyway, that's good. I'm going to stop this one.